If you had $1 billion in the bank, I don't want to know what you would buy. How would you spend your time? What would you do? What's your answer to that?
So my answer...
What's your perspective on networking? Like you said, he could have added to your network. What is your perspective on networking?
Perspective, as in, see, I feel wherever I've reached in my life is only because of the right people I've met. And genuine, like people, there have been people who have given me massive opportunities. There have been people who have connected me to good people. And that's why everything is working. So I have massive respect for like every stranger, everyone who is maybe a random person on the street or somebody who has $1 billion. I feel everybody can unlock a different level of opportunities for you. So that's my perspective. That's how I see it.
I find that you spoke about random people being able to help or having something to offer. I think a lot of it comes from your mindset. You have to have the mindset that is open to all possibilities. Your podcast is called Figuring Out. And that is such a beautiful name for a podcast because we grow up in a culture, at least in India, where your families right from the start are saying, beta, tum settle ho jao.
Yeah.
What does settle ho jao mean? You finish school, finish college, get a master's degree, get married, have 2 children, you have a job obviously along the way, and then you are settled. Nowhere in our process do we have a follow your heart or figure out what you want to do or what is it that you are passionate about. And the fact is, nobody has their shit figured out.
Yep.
And the fact is, no matter how old you are, you're still figuring shit out. You may start with whatever dreams or plans, none of us. And you can talk to anybody who's 45 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old. Nobody has ended up where they thought they would. I went to Oxford University to do a master's in business. I did an MBA from Oxford. I'm a professional comedian. And none of us know not just where we're going to end up in. I think there's a big flaw when sometimes we are guilty of putting ourselves in boxes. Right? I mean, today I'm not a comedian or an executive coach. I'm Papa CJ, you're Raj Shamani, which encompasses so many things.
Yeah.
And the real magic occurs. And for the people who are listening, no knowledge is ever waste. And when you can combine the knowledge from one field and another field and create something new, you bring to the table something that nobody else can bring. Nobody else in the world. Which is why I've always said you should never try and be a Steve Jobs or a Mukesh Ambani or anybody else or a Raj Shamani. You can only be the second best Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
But you can be the best Raj Shamani in the world. But it's that comfort of being authentic. When we start performing stand-up comedy, in fact, any career for that matter, you want the confidence that you can make people laugh.
Okay.
Right? You want that approval. You want that external validation. You'll go for the easy joke.
Yep.
So the kind of joke I will do is that, I live in Delhi. And as somebody who lives in Delhi, I don't understand the language you speak in Bombay. Like we call it bread, you call it pav. We call it pyaz, you call it kanda. We call it a servant quarter, you call it a 2 BHK. Right? So now that's the easy joke.
Yeah.
Then observational comedy sort of happens all the way through. So the kind of joke I would do is, I grew up in Calcutta. Now, I remember taking driving lessons in London, and this instructor asked me, he says, oh, you Indians, why don't you drive in a straight line? I said, boss, I'm from Calcutta. In England, you drive on the left of the road. In Calcutta, we drive on what is left of the road. Now, then what happens is, suddenly we're operating in a profession where there are no rules, no boundaries, no guidelines, no social norms. So we want to be seen as cool. We want to be seen as edgy. We will use bad language. We will pick on positions of authority. We will do jokes that make us feel intelligent, right? So, and there's some populist stuff we do as well. So I'll give you a populist stuff that people are going to say, yay! So one of the jokes I used to do was that I went to Singapore. And have you been to Singapore?
Yeah.
So nothing ever happens in Singapore, right? I remember I opened the front page of the newspaper. On the front page of the newspaper, it says there was a pig on the street. Exactly. If there's a pig on the street in Singapore, that becomes headline news. In Germany, it becomes a sausage. Right? In America, it became the president of the United States of America. See, no, that's a joke that I know is going to get a laugh.
Yeah. It's a good one. It was a good one.
Then the, so to say, intelligent jokes are when there's a pause, the audience has to make an effort and then they get it. So, for example, I do a joke about, I went to the US under the Trump administration. I had this beard. I get to immigration. The officer looks at my passport, looks at my beard. He says, you know what? You Indians, you're a mistake. In fact, India is a mistake. I said, come on, officer, as an American, you should be grateful to us. He said, why? I said, well, because when Christopher Columbus discovered America, he was looking for India. So to be perfectly honest, you are the fucking mistake. You know, I mean, technically that makes America the bastard child of India.
Yeah.
So see, now in that
Nice.
joke, there's a pause and people are like, fuck yeah, Christopher Columbus
This
was
is
looking for...
intelligent.
But eventually what happens is, you know, we operate in a profession, like I said, that has no rules, no boundaries, no guidelines, no social norms. We have grown up in a culture in India where you go and the teacher tells you this is what the answer is. Right? You go abroad to study, you go to Oxford and they're like, what do you think? And the first reaction is like, what do you mean what I think? What do I think? You are supposed to tell me what to think. But then what happens is when you're in a profession like stand-up, you are forced to look inwards. I've always said that stand-up comedy or any art form is an outward expression of an inward journey.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's the same with your
Yeah.
podcast. What you're speaking in your podcast or the things that you say is an outward expression. But it's based on the inward journey of Raj Shamani. As you grow, as you evolve, as you figure shit out, you are evolving as a person and that is what is coming out there. So when we get to that point, you know, they say it takes you 10 years to find your voice in comedy. And that is that journey to be your authentic self. Eventually, you don't even care about the audience. You're saying, this is what I want to talk about. This is my opinion on the subject. These are my values. And your audience will find you.
Yeah.
You are not going to change what you say or how you feel about a subject depending on who is in the room. Then the people who relate to you will automatically stick around and those who don't will move away.
Yep.
So it's a very interesting journey because we're all still figuring it out.
Yep. 100%.
And you're evolving now at the age of 24, right? I'm 44. I'm still evolving. I don't know, you know, this question they ask you in interviews, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Who the fuck knows? We don't know where the world will be 5 years from now. I mean, we may be on the verge of World War III with what's happening with Russia and Ukraine. So you can't answer that question. But I think if you have the right attitude, like exactly like you said, you have an open mind, you're willing to learn, you're willing to grow, you're willing to take the learning from different places and experiment. I mean, today, sorry, I'm blabbing a lot because...
No, go ahead.
You know, I get a train of thought.
No, I'm liking it. I'll cut you when I feel
just,
like
you
there's
just
something.
cut me whenever you want.
No,
because,
go ahead.
You know, I just keep randomly jumping from one thought to the other. One of the best pieces of advice I got was that it's very important for you to grow in the dark.
Okay.
When you hit the limelight, you don't have the freedom to screw up. Right? So if you're really famous, or Papa CJ performing at the Sydney Opera House, you go there and you fail, people are gonna, you know, you don't get a second shot maybe. So you want to succeed all the time. But if you want to succeed all the time, what do? You play safe. You're like, yaar, I know this works, main yahi kar leta hu.
Yeah.
But then as a result, you don't experiment, you don't innovate, you don't grow, and you stagnate. So what do? We go to small open mic nights where my name is not on the poster, only 30, 40 people. I try different things. I experiment, I innovate, I see what works, I see what doesn't. If something doesn't work, I change it around. When it starts working, I take it into the main show. So today as an executive coach, when I work with an organization or an individual, my question to you is, where is your open mic night? Where do you go to make your mistakes? What are the risks you want to do? What are the experiments you want to try? I mean, today you're on a podcast and Raj Shamani may be known for talking about certain subjects, but maybe you want to try something different.
Yep.
You know, do you get so caught into the fact, because if you're dictated by the fact that, अरे यार मेरे audience को तो ये पसंद है, तब आप अपने audience के गुलाम हो. right? Eventually, at some point, it will start feeling like a job because you're doing what they want.
Yeah.
Whereas you may grow beyond that. You should not feel pressurized to fit a certain box that I'm an influencer. You can choose to be a businessman. You can choose to be whatever it is. There's no shame in any of it.
Yep.
But that evolution is a thing of beauty which comes from an open mind and growing and learning. I mean, I had that session with you and Ranveer, 2-3 days ago. I was blown away. I mean, both of you guys, very different. But the things you had in common, you had humility. You had, what was so powerful was your self-awareness. The fact that you know where you are in your journey. You know where you're potentially looking to go. You are humble enough to recognize that you are always learning. Your understanding of your audience, of your segmentation, the fact that you tell me that people go to an Ankur Wariku for information, they come to me for aspiration. Right? I know exactly where I am. The stories you told me about when you started helping your father with his business and when you looked at aunties going into shops and what they were buying and what they were not buying, and the fact that you bribed the watchman in the mohalla to tell you who the aunties were who spoke a lot. What were you doing? That was market segmentation. That was data mining. That was figuring out what to do with that data. I mean, even you may not have realized what you were doing at that time, but so sharp and so intelligent. And I was just blown away, and not just by the two of you. I mean, of course, Ranveer has a different style in that he's a lot about energy, and I loved his energy, to be honest. But meeting both the two of you left me with such hope for the future, because people my age can be cynical. Arey yaar, these millennials, arey Gen Z, yaar, bancho, they've got everything on a plate, all that crap.
Yeah.
But we don't realize, a lot of us don't realize, including me, how hard you work, how focused you are, the effort you put in. It's very glamorous to see reels and think, oh, he's got 1 million followers, so cool and all that jazz. A lot of people don't realize the effort, right? It's like a swan or a duck. It looks really beautiful, but they don't see the feet flapping below the surface. And I got to see that. And it's not easy what you do. And I just want to say, much respect, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Dude, I didn't want to interrupt you because I felt like let's just make this a monologue, not a like a podcast, because you were so good. Like everything which you said, everything is intense. And if we pick up any one thing from the last 5 minutes of the monologue which you did, we can actually break that down into 1 hour podcast. And it's crazy. But I want to start with something that you said, that, you guys are focused, you guys are figuring out things, and you're not afraid to do anything. I'll tell you a short story how the figuring out name came in the game. Okay?
Please.
And it relates to a lot with how our society says that you have to be settled and do stuff. So I was doing the business with my dad. I was doing everything with him, and we were together. And at one point, I think I've talked about it with you, but at one point I felt that I talk a lot about financial freedom. Like a lot. I genuinely feel that everybody, and financial freedom, it doesn't mean that you should have $1 million in your banks or like $10 million. It should be that, can you wake up every day and fucking do what you want to do?
Exactly.
Without being pressured by the loan or the parents or the society or the status or like whatever. Like that's complete freedom to me. And when I sat down with so when I was doing this business, right, last year, and I was sitting with my family, and there were certain decisions which I felt like that my family has a good control over my decisions. So I felt, and I genuinely believe that where you are, with whom you are, and what do you do, these are the 3 decisions should be yours, not anyone else's. And these, especially when you live in an Indian family, you realize soon enough that these are the only three decisions which are not yours. Everything else you can do. No matter how much money you make, no matter what you do in your life, no matter how successful you are, if you live with them, you kind of have to follow these things, because they have a strong opinion of when you're going to get married, to whom you're going to get married, what kind of business or profession you're going to choose. Like these are things. Where will you live? Where your parents live? Like it's very difficult for a kid to relocate their parents, but it's very easy for a parent to relocate their kids. And with all due respect, right? I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. I just feel that it should be yours. So one day I just decided, I tell my dad, like, Dad, I feel that decision's not mine. Okay. And he's like, what do you mean by that? So I felt I'm just feeling that there's some influence. Though you're not forcing me, you're not doing anything, I feel there's some emotional baggage, there's some barrier which is why I'm not able to take the decision.
It's always emotions.
Yeah. तो मैं अगर आप लोग की शक्ल देखता रहता हूँ, I don't feel like I should do this. Right?
Yeah.
And that's it. Then what do you want to? I was like, I want to start trying to live on my own for 6 months.
Yeah.
And not take anything from family money, not live with you guys, not even be in the same city.
Yeah.
Just to figure out whether I can be independently with myself or no. Because especially in India, हम लोगों को बहुत आदत होती है कि हर 2 घंटे मम्मी पूछ लेती है, बेटा खाना खा लो, घर एकदम साफ रहता है, you all have house helps, you have everything, no matter how normal house you go to, you are getting a bed clean and clean food to eat every day.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to leave that. So I dropped the business, I left the city, came to Bombay, and everybody started asking me, bhai, aage ka kya plan hai? Like, I go sit with my friends, they say, bro, aage ka kya plan hai, ab kya karega? I sit with my relatives, aage ka kya plan hai? I go to a fucking shadi, like someone else's wedding, beta aage ka kya plan hai? Everybody's asking me. And I'm like, aage ka plan nahi pata.
Yeah.
I'm just figuring out.
Yeah.
Aren't we all figuring out? तुम्हें पता है तुम क्या करने वाले हो आगे का? Just because you have a stable job, just because you have a stable business, doesn't mean that your life is fucking figured out, right? I'm figuring out. It's just like मेरे नहीं अभी पता चला. मैं अभी बातें कर रहा हूँ, बातें कर करके content बना रहा हूँ, लोगों को समझा रहा हूँ, and I'm trying to educate them, and with that I'm able to make some money.
Yeah.
But I'm figuring out what to do next. I don't know.
There's a comedian friend of mine who used to joke that, when he used to go to weddings, a single guy, all his older relatives used to come to him and say, oh, you're next. So he started doing the same thing to them at funerals.
I know. I've heard the joke. So everybody in India, so just coming back to a settled point, in India, people are obsessed with what's next and how you're going to get settled, right? Which is right or wrong, let the society decide. But I feel that this puts you in a pressure where you're always kind of entitled to give an answer. Okay? It's like the moment you ask somebody in school, like from 10th, like, what are you gonna next? उसको 9 से बोल दिया जाता है कि तुझे 11th में क्या subject लेना है. Yeah, 9, 10th में let him live. 11th, the moment he takes subject, commerce or science, then the moment he takes commerce को बोल दिया जाता है या CA बनना है, CS बनना है, ये करना है. Science लेता है तो ये करना है, right? So it's always about what's next. Like it's because we've been hearing so much, people condition themselves after going to college कि मैं ये करने वाला हूँ. Even if they don't know कि आगे होना क्या है.
Yeah.
They have to be ready with an answer. So I felt like, let's do this thing.
Yeah.
I'm this young kid, came from a tier 2 city. I have 0 money in my bank account. And I want to fucking become, let's say, a billionaire.
Yeah.
Random number, okay? I want to become billionaire.
Yeah.
How? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a big dreamer.
Yeah.
I'm ready to hustle.
Yeah.
But the way I'm figuring out. So let me figure out and let's make figuring out cool.
I want a pen and piece of paper because I have so many different ideas that have come to my mind about things I want to talk to you about from the things that you've just said. One, you spoke about the way Indian families approach things. I've always believed that in India, happiness is relative.
Okay.
If you're doing better than your relatives, then they're happy.
Fuck! That's so true, right? And the other day, Aryan said something beautiful. Okay, talking about Indian societies that... Let me complete that figuring out thought.
Please.
So that's the game. Like, I want to make figuring out cool. So I bought this domain, figuringout.co. Me like figuringout.community.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a community of people who are proud to say that, hey, I don't know what next, but I'm fucking proud to just be in a state where I'm figuring out.
Okay. I'm going to ask you some questions that I would normally ask somebody in a... over a coffee meeting, right? Back of the envelope, executive coaching types. If you had $1 billion in the bank, I don't want to know what you would buy. How would you spend your time? What would you do? What's your answer to that?
So my answer, let me tell you, like I've thought about this a lot.
Okay.
And the only reason why I don't have an answer for this, even after thinking a lot, because I don't have it yet. And why I feel that this is a very important thing, because I have not worked myself to become that and have that, because I feel bank account or a number is reflection of your mindset in you. Right now, being very honest,
Yeah.
okay? Every time I thought that I'll hit, let's say I had a number कि मैं 1 लाख आ जाए यार बस,
Yeah.
फिर देख मैं ये करूँगा.
Yeah.
I never did something with the 1 lakh which I got it. I said the day I become a millionaire, I'll do this. I got $1 million, did nothing about it. Like every time I hit like a number, मतलब जो मैं सोचता हूँ तो करता ही नहीं हूँ. तो मैं कभी भी there's not an answer because now if you would have asked me till last year, I had a list before pandemic. I generally had a list ki these are the shoes I want, these are the planes I want, this is the places I want to visit to, this is how I want to spend my life. All materialistic life, okay? Now, I don't care because now I want to be in one room, party hard with my set of people. And I don't care whether it's in a billionaire's mansion or a small matchbox 2 BHK, which you call it, or in a random ground somewhere near the beach.
Okay.
Like, I don't care.
I'll tell you why I asked this question, where the thinking is coming from. So if I ask a 19-year-old this question, most often they'll say, oh, if I had $1 billion, I would travel. I said, okay, where will you go? I'll go to Europe. Okay. How long will you go for? I'll go for 1 month. Now, when you actually do the mathematics, right? I mean, there's a book called A Frommer's Guide to Europe on $50 a day.
Okay.
Right? You can do Europe for 1 month on 2 lakhs. Right? What I'm trying to get you to is that the cost of your dreams, or what you say your dreams are if you had $1 billion, is far lower than whatever the imaginary figure is that you might have in mind. Point number 1. Point number 2, and I can ask you this question: how much money do you need until you die? What do you think?
Based on my current living expenses that are, I know, like,
Yeah.
more than that, it's for me, I don't have one number. I know that monthly I need to be able to get some money from somewhere.
So,
Like, let's say, for example, if the number is, let's say, 5 lakh, 10 lakh, 2 lakh, I need to build something,
Yeah.
maybe some asset, some rental income, some dividend,
yeah.
which is giving me monthly, like a fix till the time I die.
Now,
That is the number in my head. I don't have like $1 million or $10 million.
Now, the fact is that most people, 99% of people, have never actually done the mathematics. Right? They've never actually calculated cost of living, how much money I'll need, health, college, children, whatever the case might be. When I talk to people who are somewhere in the middle of their careers, and they actually do this calculation. So calculate how much money you need until you die. From that, subtract what you already have. From that, figure out you've got a balanced number of money that you need. From that, you divide it by the number of years you think you're going to work. And you come to an average income per year. Most people who do that calculation find that they're earning more than they need to earn to fulfill all their dreams. They're working 14 hours a day, 6 days a week, whereas they could be working 3 months a year and still fill those, meet all their needs that they themselves have defined. Which brings me back to question 1. Why are you then not living the life of your dreams?
Yeah.
Why are you not living like you have $1 billion? Because you don't need the billion. So I think they're just interesting questions to play with and ask yourself. Because too often, like you said, beta settle ho jao. Right? That's one mental attitude that the previous generation has thrown at us.
Yeah.
But are we getting thrown into this new filter of a newer generation? पैसे कमाओ, कि creator बनो, कि इतने million views करो. इतने million views लाके तुम क्या करोगे? Is it aligned with your purpose, your values, your future self, what you want from your life? Or are you just chasing it because that's what is the new fad now?
Yep.
I mean, today I'm a stand-up comedian. I sometimes joke that I'm the most famous comedian who nobody knows. Right? Because I did not leave the corporate world to join a creative field and be in a rat race in the creative field. My passion is live stand-up comedy. There are friends of mine who are doing wonderfully well online, millions of views. I wish all of them great success and great joy, but I don't want to be shooting videos, editing videos. You know what I'm saying? I do respect to anybody who wants to do that. But I think it's really important also to look inwards once before you start chasing,
Yeah.
what you might be inspired by, because you want to make sure it's aligned to who you are. I think there's a wonderful thing, isn't it? You said that day, first people look at what you do, then they look at how you do it, and then you said they look through you. Whereas I added to that and I say, I think sometimes then they look at who you are.
Yeah. Personality.
My question to you is, do you know who you are? And it's perfectly fine to say exactly what you say, is I'm still figuring it out. But are you aligned? Are you chasing goals that are aligned to the current version of who you are?
Yeah.
I think that's something that's worth introspecting about.
Absolutely. I think the first step anybody needs to do is, so I call it so this is how people should make money. Okay. And because at the end of the day, you need to, even if you're passionate, you need to realize who you are. At the end of the day, you need to feed yourself, right? But where is this exact match? How can you come up with an idea which which can help you make money and feed your soul at the same time? So I have this model to come up with your business. That's what I say. So I'm like, first figure out what are you good at? Because usually what you're good at is something which knowingly or unknowingly you have been doing already. That's why you're good at it.
Yeah.
Right. Because you don't know. Most of the people feel like, oh, I'm the good at it. Let's say I'm good at overthinking. Example. Like, ye koi thodi skill thodi hai. But if you genuinely are overthinking, if you monetize it well, you can become a strategic consultant. That's what they call it.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just making it more generic and fun. So first you figure out what is your strength? What is that one thing usually?
Yeah.
Second, you realize what are you obsessed about? Let's say I feel that I am good at talking to people, just connecting and building relationships. So that's my strength, talking. What am I obsessed about? I'm obsessed about social media and consumers. I love it. I love knowing कि Pepsi ने कैसे 500 लोगों को अपना कस्टमर बना दिया. I love knowing कि भुवन बम इतना followed क्यों है. I love knowing Kardashians ने क्या किया. So I love knowing all of this. So what I'm obsessed about. And everybody, because we live in an information era, is obsessed, knowingly or unknowingly obsessed about something.
Yeah.
Example, many people, you remember पहले होता था जो न्यूज़पेपर देखते थे खोलते ही वो पेज 3 पे चले जाते थे because they would be interested in Bollywood gossip.
Yeah.
Even that's a great industry.
Yeah.
There are some people who are interested in cars, so they listen to car magazines.
Yeah.
There are some people interested about FMCG, crypto, videography, whatever, comedians performing on stage.
Yeah.
So what are you obsessed about? Because that's one. Then is the third. You realize, how can I use my strength in an industry which I'm obsessed about? That's why you build a business.
Yeah.
And that's why you make maximum money. It's never about trend ki दुनिया crypto की जा रही तो मैं crypto बना लेता हूँ. It's never about what is the market, what does market need, what does market does not need, all of that. It's always about, do you know everything about the industry and do you know everything about yourself? You combine both of them, you build a significantly good business.
So this is exactly on the lines of the Ikigai model, right? Which is the Ikigai model is it's a Japanese philosophy is your Ikigai is the center of your being is sort of, that's not center of being isn't the right way to put it. What do I love? What am I good at? What does the world need? And what can I be paid for doing? Exactly where those four meet, and you've spoken about 3 of them, is your Ikigai.
Wow, I didn't know this. I should have written Ikigai or something similar,
So
Indian version of it.
It's a wonderful philosophy. And the other thing I've always believed is that, your level of success, I think there are 3 things that are really critical, and it does not matter which business you're in. Relationships, networks, and your personal brand.
Okay.
Most people can do the job. People want to work with somebody they want to work with. This is something we were talking about earlier, is if you can be compassionate, if you can be good to people, if you can look out for opportunities to help somebody else without having a transactional mindset that, if I help them, tab mere ko ye fayda hoga, it's going to come back to you. The real magic of, so to say, networking, quote unquote, is finding opportunities to help other people.
Absolutely, 100%. So I tell you, man, there are so many things I want to talk about because you're talking exactly about what I've done in my life. And knowingly or unknowingly, I've done maybe the right things. That's why it took me at a good place. Like it. So I've been following this rule, which is reach out to one person a day, every day. Okay. And I've been following this in last, I think 7-8 years now.
Okay.
And I genuinely reach out to on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, emails. Randomly, I'll talk to some stranger on the street, somebody at a club, at a bar.
Yeah.
I have met one of the biggest podcast guests through this. I've met my biggest investors through this. I've met my friends through this. I've met so many people just because of this. Okay?
Yeah.
And when I meet people, okay, so often I realize in the start that nobody cares about you because they all are busy and in their own element. Okay. If you want them to respect you in that element, just try to figure out why are they in that element? Like what are they looking in that event? If, for example, if that's a girl at a bar, why is she at a bar? Because she's thinking, or like she's here, in most cases, she's here to take a break from the work life, to have fun, enjoy. If there's somebody at a conference, what is this person there for? Maybe they're there for network, maybe they're there to learn something, maybe they're there to connect with a specific person.
Yeah.
So you always try to think about what are they there for in that element. And then you give so much that they're guilty to give you back. And that's how you build the best relationships.
Tell me this as somebody who left a business that you made very successful to start doing what you do. There are two philosophies when somebody does something like that. There's one saying which is, if you want to walk on water, you've got to get out of the boat.
Yeah.
Which is what you did. You chucked it all up and you just came. And there's another philosophy which is like you keep putting your foot out and trying. Acha beta tum hobby kar lo. Do it on the side as a hobby or fir dekh lena. What approach would you advise people? Should they try things as a hobby or should they just chuck things up and go for it?
Step out of the boat when maybe you haven't figured out how to walk on it, but only step out when you've figured out how to swim.
Have 5 hours hoping you'd say that. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So even if you don't know how to swim, fucking don't step out.
Yeah.
Try. Like step thoda, try to learn.
But
like,
sometimes you don't know.
Like
Maybe
hold
you
the-
do know how to swim.
Yeah.
Do you need
Hold
to
the
be thrown
boat,
in the-
put out the rope, go there, come back again, rope again, go there, come back again. Like that's the approach. Like you gotta do 9 to 5 till the time you can afford your 9 to 5 life without doing 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Right? You can't go all in.
Yeah.
The world is brutal. We live in a capitalistic world. Dude,
But
nothing's gonna happen.
I'm going to challenge you on that because you went all in.
Yeah. I went all, okay, there's a difference. I went all in after having a self-awareness that I know that I can actually live by just doing storytelling for the rest of my life. Maybe I won't have the most luxurious life again. I had the belief.
I'm going to challenge that because a lot of people will sort of say have the belief or think they can do it.
Okay, I moved out of house when I reached 150K or 200K on my on my Instagram already. So there
Okay,
was
fine.
proof.
Take it.
I didn't got out. Like I didn't get out of my house. So, okay. This conversation I had with my dad on 29 July
Yeah.
in peak pandemic 2020. I moved out of house January 3, 2021. The 6 months, I was only doing content in my house. So from 100K to 300K, I reached there.
Yeah.
From 300K, I left the house, started doing my own thing.
Fair play.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I'm not stupid enough to tell people that, you know what?
Yeah.
You jump out of the 55th floor and figure out how to make parachute in the middle of it and all that bullshit. Like, fuck no.
Yeah.
You fucking build your parachute sneakily in your own house, then jump out of the 55th floor. खुलेगा नहीं खुलेगा बात different है, right? But होना तो चाहिए भाई.
ठीक है.
So there's one philosophy by Richard Branson and Ratan Tata that you take the decision and then you make it right. You get an opportunity and then you figure out how to make it big. You never say no, right? So it's this one. So if you're already in the waters, if you're listening to this, bro, you have taken the decision already. Make it goddamn the right one. Right? That's one way. कि आप कूद गए पानी में. Right? And the second philosophy is you flirt with 10 people before you settle down with one.
Hang on. So how would you apply this advice to relationships or marriage?
this is I'm not I don't have the right I'm not credible enough to talk on this because
Out of syllabus.
out of syllabus. I'm young. I'm very young to talk about any of this. But I feel it's again the figuring out thing, right? I relate this to a crush theory, like a
Yeah.
passion and crush is similar.
Yeah.
So you go to a college, you see a girl.
Yeah.
Okay. You see a girl, you feel like, damn, she's pretty or she's beautiful. Then you go talk to her, you're like, arey nahi yaar, bore ho gaya main. Then 5 days later, you find some other one, you get attracted, you talk to her. This time you feel like, oh, talking में बहुत अच्छा है. And then 5 nights, 5 days you keep thinking about her. उसने क्या पहना था, वो कैसी दिख रही थी, क्या होगा, मैं कल क्या बात करूंगा, उसके साथ कहाँ जाऊंगा, this and that. You keep thinking about it, you can't get over the fact, right? You start going out, it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
3 months later, again, you find out someone else. You do it, and this time you're like, fuck, I'm enjoying every moment. And you stay with her for next 2-3 years, 7 years, 10 years, or maybe for your life. So this is, you don't get your life partner on one day. You don't get your passion on one day. You don't get the right opportunity on day one. You don't get the right business on day one.
Okay.
So it's just thinking and exploring whatever you're feeling right.
Yeah.
And just going and trying to flirt. And once you're stable and once you think that, oh, this is the time to go all in, then you go all in. And even after that, it's not sure that it's going to work out or not.
Okay. So you clearly have some considerable experience with flirting.
No.
You just gave me such a long lecture about flirting, yeah?
I was trying to give an analysis from the point of view from a point of view of careers.
We are not editing this out.
I've flirted with a lot of careers. I wanted to become a rapper first.
Don't try and recover from this, okay? When you were talking about flirting all this time and all, you were speaking with great confidence and authority, okay?
Because I flirted with a lot of careers. I tried to become rapper, try to become DJ, then try to become a guitarist, then financial trader, then a salesperson, then entrepreneur, now creator. So last thing I want to ask is, we're talking about success, right? Let's say a 20-year-old who's watching this. First of all, like giving me a short answer, like what is executive coaching? Hota kya? But we have heard a lot. Every good CEO, executive, champion has their coaches, has their somebody who's keeping them sane. Like,
so here's the short answer.
Coaching?
This is your current reality. This is your future ideal self, where you want to be. That future ideal self, you form a picture of that based on your purpose and your values. Executive coaching helps you to get from here, from your current self to your future self, by helping you focus on your strengths, understanding what they are. Forget about your weaknesses, forget about feedback, it's feed forward. It's solution focused. And an executive coach plays a few roles. He's a thought partner, he's a supporter, he's a process partner, and sometimes a capability developer. But the ideas come from you. Me as your coach, I just help you make the different mental connections that allow you to. So step one is you are aware of your current reality. I'm aware of this is what my skills are, this is what they aren't. Then I expand your mind to include other possibilities. Then I help you dig down to look at small niche areas and say, oh, maybe I want to focus on that. Then you put that into practice and see what works and what doesn't. And the stuff that does work, you bring into play in your life. And it slowly helps you take that journey to your future ideal self.
So let's say I'm at point A, I want to reach point B.
Yeah.
And so an executive coach will help me reach that point faster.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It helps you look at perspectives that maybe you were not able to. Today, if I'm in the detergent business, I'm looking at it from here. I only know detergents. I've been working in a certain way. हमारे यहाँ तो ऐसे ही होता है. बेटा इस धंधे में हम ऐसे ही काम करते हैं. Right?
Yeah.
What did you do? You looked at it differently. You showed them a slightly different way of looking at things. That's what a coach does, basically.
That's what.
He helps them. You are not Cinderella. You are the fairy god consultant, the fairy god coach. The hero of the story is Cinderella.
Okay, I have a question. Maybe I'm coming from an absolute point of innocent, right? If an executive coach is like smart enough, or maybe is somebody who can help you achieve your goals, why is executive coach himself not achieving the bigger goals than his clients? So because I'm saying, so I was shocked when I heard for the first time that Warren Buffett has like his mental coach or something. I think performance coach. It's
Yeah.
some word. I was like, तो फिर उसके कोच के बारे में हमने क्यों नहीं सुना? वो अपना खुद का परफॉर्मेंस इतना बढ़िया कर लेता कि वॉरेन बफेट से बड़ा बन जाता.
Because maybe Warren Buffett's goals are different to the coach's goals. The coach doesn't want to be Warren Buffett. You don't want to be Gary Vee, right? So the coach's goals are different. The coaching is different to mentoring. A mentor can advise you, guide you, may have more knowledge than you. A coach is not saying that he is better than you or that he knows more than you. A coach is helping you open up your mind so you can raise your game. I mean, Roger Federer has a coach, Rafael Nadal has a coach, Djokovic has a coach.
And they have
he doesn't
different
have a
coaches.
vaccination, but that doesn't mean they're better tennis players than them.
So I was reading about Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
And it said what makes Tony Robbins one of the best coaches in the world.
Yeah.
And there's a story of Mark Benioff and Tony Robbins. So Mark Benioff, Salesforce guy, right? So they were in Fiji, and there was a sea. They were on the cliff. Tony said, "Let's jump here."
Yeah.
Okay. Mark didn't ask, nothing. Tony jumped. Once he's down, he asked Mark to jump. Mark jumped as well.
Yeah.
And then when they're in the water, he says, "This water is famous for poisonous snakes."
Yeah.
And you'll be, so if there's anything you step on, don't panic.
Yeah.
Just keep your feet off the water.
Yeah.
That's it.
Huh.
And Mark Benioff says, like, that's beauty about Tony.
Yeah.
He makes you do shit, and he does it with you.
Yeah.
That's how you kill your fear.
Yeah.
So is that do you think right coaches it? They get in the water with you?
Absolutely.
Or like, because he says it's very easy to advise someone to do something.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to do it with them. And that's why Tony is Tony.
So every good coach is also coached themselves, right? And you also recognize it's a mutual learning process. You're learning from each other. You're growing together. It's a very deep partnership, and it's a relationship of immense trust. And it is a journey you take together. It's not a one-sided, maine bata diya, this is how it happens. You
Yeah.
know? No, sometimes both parties don't know, but we're figuring out.
See, dude, I was fascinated by this concept of coaching because I've done like many conferences, my most of the learnings have happened because I've been to these seminars, coachings. I mean, not coaching, I would say, but like just like seminars, conferences,
Yeah.
all these public speaking forums.
Yeah.
And as a speaker and as a learner, like I've attended like hundreds of them.
Yeah.
You name it, like the people, I've attended all their courses and stuff and I've not applied everything which they said, but there are two things which I like from them. I pick it up, applied in my life.
Yeah.
And why I started doing this because I wanted to become financial trader.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Google just popped up.
Yeah.
And I was reading an article about a hedge fund manager in New York, Manhattan, right? So this guy is a billionaire
Yeah.
who keeps it very low and underground.
Yeah.
But every time he moves,
Yeah.
even the people at Warren Buffett's organization, they take his call seriously.
Yeah.
Okay, so he has made a name for himself.
Yeah.
And he manages wealth for like the richest of the richest, right? And he made $1 billion out of commissions.
Yeah.
And when he was asked, what is the reason for your success?
Yeah.
He said, I only talk to 7 people. Okay. 4 of them are coaches, 3 of them are executioners.
Yeah.
I don't talk to anyone else.
Yeah.
So I have a mental coach, I have a performance coach, I have a strength and conditioning coach, and I have a coach who helps me with life and understanding human, like a psychological person. Okay. And then I have 3 people in my organization, which one is a CEO, one is a CEO, and the other is CFO.
Yeah.
I don't talk to anyone else. And when they was like, how do you manage people? Well, the CEO is just a name. The CEO is the guy who actually handles people.
Yeah.
Right. And I was fascinated. I was like, कि भाई आदमी 1000-2000 लोगों की ऑर्गेनाइजेशन चला रहा है, सिर्फ 7 लोगों से बात करता है और 7 में से 4 तो सिर्फ सीख ही रहा है, मतलब 4 की सुनता है और 3 को बात करता है.
When you're at this level, you're managing the business. When you're at this level, you're managing the people who manage the business. Because if you keep managing the business, you'll never be able to get up there to be able to see that bird's
So
eye.
how do you go to that level? How do you get to...
Just over time. And not everybody's meant for it. We've seen so many people in organizations who are really good at their job. You make them a manager and they're terrible.
Yeah.
Because it's a different skill set.
But can you hire, let's say, there's a term which these big organizations do, right? Management trainee.
Yeah.
They get management trainees, they train them enough. In 5 years, they make them some like big ass something.
Yeah, but you can do that to a certain level. Beyond that, I mean, today, for example, you focus on what you do. You have 7 other people or 9 other people who handle the other stuff. Tum kitna bhi video editing, I can put you on a management trainee course under Raj Shamani, right? Where you do the job of every single person. Thoda to tum seekh loge. Kitna editing seekh loge, boss? Right? And if
But
it's
no,
not your passion,
how
if
do
it's
you
not
pick
your-
up? So my question is, how do you pick up, let's say, newbie who you feel कि ये तो तेरे जैसा है भाई, ये फाड़ेगा, पता नहीं क्या करेगा, and how do you make that person your like second line of leader? Like you pick up someone. Let's say I want to pick up some editor, and I know that this person can run an army of video editors. Or I want to pick up some new guy. I feel that he can manage my entire work, but I need to help him and make him, like coach him enough so that he can do stuff. What can you do?
So 2 things.
How can you train people to become better leaders?
Again, I'm forgetting whose line this was. He said, hire people for attitude. Because you can coach people's skills. You can teach them skills. You can't teach them attitude. And also go back to the advice you gave a little while ago, which is, what are those 3 things you said? Things that you're passionate about, things that you're strong at, right? And what is the 3rd thing you said?
First is you combine both of them and put it in the market to test it
So
out.
you're looking for exactly the same thing. You're looking for people who are passionate about video editing and who are good at it. There you go.
And then you can...
And
but
the
once
other
you
thing
start
is-
managing, right? I can get like an exceptionally good video editor. But he won't be able to manage 10 people.
Yeah, because the question you have to ask is...
How do we train him to be able to do that so that 10 other people, even who are newbies, come under him, and then he or she is able to actually get the best output from those 10 people as well?
See, it all starts from the top, right? Eventually, it all comes down to culture. People will stick around in your organization because your culture is the right one for them. If you think about it, today you tell your guy, "Arey yaar, tere ko ye sales target hit karna hai." He may hit it, he may not hit it, he may leave your organization, make some money elsewhere. Now today you ask a guy, "तेरे सपने क्या है?" यार मेरे को अपनी माँ के लिए घर खरीदना है. अच्छा, what do you need to do in order to get a house for your mom? यार मैं इतने पैसे कमा रहा हूँ ना तो हो जाएगा. अच्छा, कैसे कमाओगे ये? अगर मेरा ये टारगेट हिट हो जाए ना, ओके, व्हाट इज कमिंग इन द वे? ये तकलीफ हो रही मेरे को, मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ तुम्हारे लिए टू गेट आउट ऑफ द वे? सर अगर आप यहाँ पे हेल्प कर दो ना तो मैं ये कर पाऊँगा. Now that guy is not working to hit a sales target. He's working to help his mom get a house, right? So unless you can align the dreams and visions and hopes and goals of people who work for you with the dreams and goals of your organization, eventually when they don't feel like it, somebody else will offer them more money, somebody else will offer them something, they'll go. So it comes down to that culture. Do you actually care about the people who work for you, to that level? Then they'll stick around. Ask yourself, why would you stay and work for somebody if you got a better offer somewhere else? Why? Because of the relationship, the connect, the culture, right? And the advice I would give to anybody looking for a job or looking to work somewhere else, if you have to pick between the kind of job or the kind of work and the kind of people you want to work with, always pick the people. One of the greatest reasons for your success will be who your first boss is, right? If you're under the right person, they will help you grow and coach you and mentor you and help you.
Yeah.
If you're not, it doesn't matter if you've got the right job.
I believe in this 100%. So while I was building my business, in fact, even today, so there was this one thing which I read in a book called Good to Great. First,
Jim Collins.
Yeah. First who, then what. So if I identify the who, I can give them what and they'll still ace it.
Yeah.
See, it's always about who and then what.
Yeah.
Right? Because just think about it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you're in an organization, this should be the rule. If you can't vibe with them beyond the work, you should not hire them. if you can't see that if you don't tell them anything and they'll still ace it, you should not hire them.
Now that comes from culture. Strategy can be copied. Organizational structures can be copied. Culture. That's what people do when you're not in the room. That's culture.
Yeah. Like what should they, like what do they do? In,
When you say vibes, that's organizational culture. You know, what are the values you live by? What are the things you stand for?
this is the first rule of hiring. Like, can I talk to this person and go party with him?
So in consulting, now I used to recruit people into a consulting practice in London. I used to hire MBAs. And one of the things is called the airport test, which is that if I'm catching a flight to a certain city and I miss the flight, can I sit at this airport with this person for 6 hours and have a conversation? And if the answer to that is no, then maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we also had something called a wild duck philosophy, which is that you don't want clones of each other. You want that one wild duck who flies separate and will ask the questions that nobody else does, just to make sure you're not all just clones of each other. Because you don't learn anything from same or similar thinking.